Prehistoric Pokemon. Welcome guys, once again to the channel, Ranking with Dinosaurs, where we rank, you guessed it, dinosaurs. And today, I know what you're thinking, Ranking with Dinosaurs, what the hell is this? Well, sometimes, I want to do a bit of a funny video, a bit of a goof. And, I've been playing a bit of Pokemon myself lately. And, it came up with this very original idea. Totally not stolen or anything. No, but we're going to be ranking some very prehistoric looking Pokemon. As you all know, Pokemon are based on real life creatures for the most part. And some of these creatures are, yes, prehistoric in appearance. Or just generally just sometimes just straight up dinosaurs and stuff like that. So, Pokemon, I think we've all heard of it. So, I don't have to explain too much about it. So, without further ado, I'm going to be starting with TYRANTRUM. We're going to be starting with TYRANTRUM. And, sometimes Pokemon can, be a little bit too straightforward with its designs. And I think, this is the most straightforward Tyrannosaurus Rex that you could see. You got the, theropod body plan. You got the really tiny arms, the big jaws, and, it's stocky, like, sort of build. And I actually really like the, little color they gave it, looking very regal, very royal. And it does emphasize that, it has a pretty strong bite force. And, yeah, I think it translates to a pretty good design. Again, it is, it is, at the end of the day, it looks just like a Tyrannosaurus. It's not very inventive with the design, but, I can, let it pass because, it looks pretty badass. The dragon typing from the actual Pokemon makes a lot of sense too. This is something I'm not going to take into account, honestly, like competitive viability, because you're not here for that. We're here for the designs. But if you want to know, it is absolute ass. So, TYRANTRUM, it's going to go straight into A tier. I respect how cool it looks. AURORUS. So, AURORUS is a pretty, I would say, it's a pretty nice looking Pokemon. It's very clean looking. As we can see, obviously based on a sauropod, it's a quadrupedal dinosaur, with a very long neck. Now, yes, AURORUS doesn't have a pretty long neck, but it honestly makes sense in this case because AURORUS is mostly based on a Margosaurus, and as we all know, Margosaurus has a pair of sails going from throughout the back of its neck. And I think the way they use it here is actually pretty cool. The actual sails change color, I think, depending on the, Pokemon's mood. So, that's pretty cool. I actually like the inclusion of a, fantastical element into these, dinosaur designs. And fun fact, those little crystals that you see on the back, they actually kind of resemble, the osteoderms stuff we found on Titanosaurs. So I actually think that is a pretty cool and neat detail. So, AURORUS, I really like it. Do I like it more than TYRANTRUM? I don't think so. I think about the same. But I do like it a bit more. Not enough to put it into S tier, but to slot it into A tier. ARCHEOPS. So, I'm going to be following along the very obvious route of, we grabbed this animal from prehistory, and we're going to put it into a Pokemon art style. And ARCHEOPS, I think, does that a bit... it goes in a much more, goofy direction. I think ARCHEOPS is actually, honestly, pretty cool. I like the design. I like how colorful it looks. They didn't go for the, single colored feathered bird. But they went, it has just a bunch of, rainbow colors. And the actual animal under the feathers does have, a much more reptilian look, a much more dinosaur kind of look. So, I like that they, mesh it in and made it much more, obvious that it's not just, a bird. So, I like that a lot of aspects of his design. Sad thing, if you were wondering, competitively, absolutely ass as well. As you can see, fossil Pokemon, some of these are fossil Pokemon. And, they're supposed to be, from ancient times, and most of them suck. I actually really like it. Am I going to put it in S tier? I might. I am going to. Rampardos. Continuing, moving along, Gen 4 introduces us to 2 fossil Pokemon, and Rampardos is one of them. Now, I have to say, bold decision by, the Pokemon Company, or, Game Freak, to to choose such a unique looking dinosaur like Pachycephalosaurus to base a Pokemon on. Now, it doesn't look exactly like a Pachycephalosaurus, but us that we know what a Pachy looks like, it's pretty straightforward. But I think the way that the artwork makes it look, I don't know, the shapes kind of make it look a little I don't know, janky, but I actually kind of like it because as it's rearing up to headbutt you in the face, it actually looks pretty menacing. So Rampardos, actually really like it. The design also, like the blue dome. Again, for us, it's just a Pachycephalosaurus, but I think Pachycephalosaurus is already pretty freaking weird, so it translates pretty well into Pokemon. So S tier, I think above Archeops, yeah. Bastiodon. Now, Bastiodon is the counterpart to Rampardos in Gen 4, the other fossil Pokemon. And, as Rampardos has a pretty sky-high attack stat. And, Bastiodon is the opposite, so it's very defensively focused. And, Bastiodon, as we can see, obviously, it is based on a ceratopsian. Now, what ceratopsian? It could be any ceratopsian, honestly, because, it looks pretty... very generic, but if I want to guess, because of the triangular looking frill, I would say either Torosaurus or Pandaceratops, honestly. Either one of those two. But here's the thing. I hate this guy. I hate Bastiodon with all my heart. Ceratopsians are some of the coolest and some of the most, colorful dinosaurs that, we don't know if they were how colorful they were, but their frills are very much, very attention grabbing. So they most likely were a center of attention. And the fact that Bastiodon looks so goddamn boring, ugly, because oh my god, that face. I hate how they did my boy. Like, Bastiodon is not looking good. Like, competitively too, if you were wondering, absolutely dog water. So, Bastiodon, I'm so sorry. You're gonna go straight into D tier. AERODACTYL. AERODACTYL is a absolutely nostalgia trip. It is a Gen 1 rock fossil. I'm so sorry. And, so it's been, in the Pokemon games for a long time. Now, AERODACTYL, absolutely love it. I know, it looks generic as hell. But, for a, Gen 1, design that they took, a prehistoric animal, I think they did a pretty cool job. It looks, the colors are pretty pleasing to look at. I like the fact that it has a freaking huge ass lower jaw. That is very different from pterosaurs in general. We have some, very, like thick beak pterosaurs like us Darkids, but nothing like this. This guy has some jowls on him. But AERODACTYL, I don't know how he's gonna keep in the air with those wings. They're not definitely not big enough. And I really like the fact that it has a very long tail, which as we all know, usually bigger pterosaurs have very short tails. It was the tiny pterosaurs that had the longer tails. So AERODACTYL, I really like it. And bonus, AERODACTYL has a mega evolution, so that actually makes it even 10 times cooler. So AERODACTYL, I really like it. I don't know if I put it in S tier, but I'll definitely put it in A tier. It is a little basic. OMASTAR. Now, this is the other Gen 1 fossil, rock type fossil, and this one, I have to give it to them. They made it freaky looking. Now, OMASTAR, they could have made it, the cute. They go throughout the cute route because it's very tiny, and it's a little shelled creature from the ocean. But they decided to make it, just a little, gremlin guy. It kind of looks like it came from, I don't know, space, which is funny because Starmie, which is another water type, the star, the sea star Pokemon, it actually comes from space. I think that's the lore. Correct me if I'm wrong. But OMASTAR, it looks like, he's just... Also, the artwork is very funny. He has his little arms out. and he has, you know, a very octopus. Well, it's a cephalopod looking mouth, so I'll give it to them. And you know, has some eyes that look like there are no thoughts behind those eyes. I like the little spikes on the shell as well. They did a pretty good job, in my opinion. However, again, it is an Ammonite. If you didn't know, is an Ammonite Pokemon. OMASTAR. I think it's a pretty respectable B tier. Not my favorite, so but still well executed. Tropius. Now, Tropius, as we can see right here, is another sauropod based Pokemon. Now, this one came way before AURORUS, and Tropius was, for a long time, a lot of people's favorite Pokemon from that gen. This is Gen 3, I believe. The thing is, Tropius is, at least, you know, battle, using it battle speaking, it is absolutely atrocious. Yes, Tropius is atrocious. And, you know, the design, it's honestly, I can respect it. They went a very different route. I mean, they gave it wings. So, yes, Tropius can fly. It is a flying grass type. And it has bananas hanging from its neck or from its beard. It's like a banana beard. I don't know. And I think that's it. It doesn't evolve from anything. And it doesn't evolve into anything. Which I think makes Tropius kind of, you know, like a little bit lacking, if, I don't know, in like X Factor or anything. It's just a sauropod that has leaves that can fly. And I don't know, something about it just does not ring right with me. So I'm sorry, Tropius fans. Hopefully it gets an evolution and, you know, it can actually amount to something, because it is very ass. Tropius, it's gonna go into C tier. MAMOSWINE. MAMOSWINE is a little bit, you know, now we're getting into, you know, the little mashing, a little bit of, you know, concepts and design. So actually, MAMOSWINE comes from a lineage, or, you know, the pre-evolutions look more like, you know, little pigs. That you know, you can't see their eyes for some reason. They are very hairy. And it is fun because this comes out of absolutely nowhere. Well, not nowhere, but, you know, I think it's the second evolution has, you know, little tusks, but, you know, they're supposed to be, you know, like hairy pigs. However, MAMOSWINE absolutely just cranks it up to 11. It's not only a pig, but it's also a mammoth that looks absolutely sick. I love MAMOSWINE. I love using MAMOSWINE in the games too. So, MAMOSWINE, again, it's a mammoth, but it's not just a mammoth. I like how the tusks look. I like its eyes. It looks like it's wearing, I don't know, like goggles or something. And it has, you know, his little pig nose, so doesn't have just a trunk like a normal elephant. It is actually a cool design for a very whatever two previous evolutions. You know, nobody really cared about them. Hey, well, if you care about them, that's totally fine. But personally, me, I was like, whatever. But then I saw MAMOSWINE, and I was like, bro, they were cooking when they made this guy. So MAMOSWINE, it's gonna go S tier, guys. Yes, BRELOOM. So we're gonna be moving on, and we're gonna be landing at one of the coolest. Once again, I think we left the best for the end. BRELOOM, absolutely sick Pokemon. Now, as I was looking for, you know, the inspirations behind BRELOOM's design, I originally chose BRELOOM because it looks like a theropod. It looks like a little, I don't know, like raptor or like alvarezsaurid or some sort of, you know, small theropod. But then I saw that yes, there are some dinosaur inspirations, but also kangaroos. And I was like, bro, I'm pretty sure, I am 100% sure the Pokemon Company, or, you know, Game Freak, do not know what kangaroos look like. Because if you know a little bit about Pokemon, and you know the Pokemon, the other one, Kangaskhan, you know that animal, that guy is based on a kangaroo as well. So we got two kangaroo Pokemons, which do not look at all like kangaroos, which, you know, I can respect. I always give, you know, Pokemon credit when they don't just, you know, make animal, but in the Pokemon style. But Kangaskhan does not look a bit like a kangaroo. I can maybe look at it in, you know, from BRELOOM, but I don't know. I think BRELOOM just looks like a, you know, theropod dinosaur that it's also a mushroom, which it is absolutely adorable. and also pretty badass. BRELOOM. Oh boy. I think it's gonna go S tier. I think it's gonna go top of S tier. Yes. ARMALDO. Looking at quite a very forgettable Pokemon. I'm not gonna lie. I was looking at, how to make a Pokemon that I wanted to make the video about, and I came across ARMALDO, and I was like, Armando? What? I don't know. That's like the first. I read it wrong. I was like, who's Armando? I'm like, oh, Armaldo. Oh, I see now. But yeah, Armaldo, well, to be more precise, it's pre-evolution Anorith, yes, is actually based on the Anomalocaris. Now, I think Anorith, its pre-evolution, actually does a much better job at this. And then it evolves into Armaldo, which, I have to give them credit. If Anomalocaris, for some reason, decided to evolve and go into land, I'm pretty sure this is what it looked like. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It looks really freaky. Kind of looks like a totem or something like that. I don't know. The more I look at it, the more, a little bit intrigued and also scared of it I am. But, Armaldo, again, it is forgettable for a reason. It's nothing, it's nothing, in the Pokemon grand scheme, in the grand scheme of things, anything, special. It's just that, fossil Pokemon from, I think it's Gen 3, actually. But yes, Armaldo, it is not terrible. So I'm gonna put it in B tier, actually, yes. DRACOVISH. We are at the end of the tier list. Yes, it was a very quick one, or I don't know how long this is gonna take, but I'm not spending a lot of time talking about the Pokemon individually, but come at the end of the tier list. Now, this particular Pokemon right here it's one of 4 Pokemon that came out in Generation 8, I believe. So, not this generation, the one before. And I have to say, the concept of these 4 Pokemon, it is absolutely sick. I really love it. Like, the concept behind it, the region that these guys are on is based on, the UK. And these particular Pokemon are... There's a gimmick where you can interchange like its front half with its back half, so you can mix and match them, which mirrors history when during the Bone Wars when where we were putting skulls on the end of tails. So this absolutely mirrors that, and I think it's absolutely cool. It's such a good little nod to history and to paleontology in general. So I really like that, and not only did I like that, but it gave us one of the goofiest looking Pokemon out there. DRACOVISH. Now, there are 3 more, as I was saying, but the other 3, I think they're a little bit more, forgettable or whatever. I like the Dracozolt, which is, the front Velociraptor, back Stegosaurus or something like that. But DRACOVISH is absolutely hilarious. Like, there are no thoughts going behind those eyes. Believe me. When you look at it from the front, it is the funniest looking Pokemon I've ever seen. It's the head of a fish, and it is connected to the tail of the Stegosaur. So I don't know how to explain it. Just look at it. It is absolutely funny as hell. But yeah, DRACOVISH quickly became one of my favorite fossil Pokemon and prehistoric based Pokemon. So DRACOVISH, I know it's gonna sound crazy, but DRACOVISH is gonna go all the way into S tier. Top of S tier is the best one. And that is the tier list, guys. Thank you so much for watching this very funny and goofy video. Hope you watched through it. And don't worry, the actual dinosaur videos are coming probably next week. Yes. And so stay tuned for that. This was just I wanted to give you a little something different, or me particularly do something a little bit different, so I don't, burn myself out. Tell me, which one is your favorite? Which is your favorite fossil Pokemon? And just tell me right at the gate, which is your favorite Pokemon? If I have to say my favorite one, I think Pokemon is a thing where, you sometimes you change, sometimes you have like a top 3 or top 5, and then, you circulate throughout those like a lot of times. Right now, Politoed is absolutely my goat. I love that little frog. So, please, not only comment, how else can you help the channel? Please, like. It helps the video. Subscribe. It helps even more. And I will see you guys in the next video.